What's up, everybody? In today's video, I want to talk about Christ consciousness and Kundalini awakening, how these two subjects are related, as well as getting away from the religious dogma. So if you're, religiously Christian or you're religiously into yoga and seeing it from that one side or the other perspective, this video probably isn't for you. So I just want to make that disclaimer right here. If you are open to the possibility of these different traditions connecting and seeing the synchronicity between the two, then this is the place for you. So make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos and awareness on these subjects. So Christ consciousness is a term that's flung around a lot today's. It's been flung around for, a while. And even in the Flower of Life books by Drunvalo Melchizedek, he speaks from a very scientifically esoteric metaphysical perspective, how Christ conscious is a living thing and something that we can all experience, to be enveloped in that state that Yeshua or Jesus spoke of, to be doers of the word. Even in the scriptures you can find, compared to the, once again, the religious belief that will say, oh, only Jesus can heal, only Jesus can help people, and even his original name Yeshua meant God saves. God saves. So even he, Jesus, the one miracle worker, raising people from the dead and curing people from their illnesses and infirmities and casting out demons and all these miraculous magical things that he did. There's two perspectives on the religious side. One side, for he's the only one that can do it, and just say his name and everything's going to be okay. And I get that. I've practiced Christianity. I was born in a Christian family, and I also appreciate and admire the deeper wisdom and mysticism that is enveloped even in a book that, like the Bible, that there is so many layers of coded information in there that the public eye or the religious exoteric perception of that wisdom and knowledge may, classify it in this way or that way, and then say this is the right way to do it. But then there's 500 other denominations saying no, they're wrong and our way is to do it. And if you read the Bible itself, it's like, Christ spoke of that division that, he would bring about in people, and also the unity thereof that is, the oneness of God, and understanding the relationship, how he says, the Father and I are one, things such as that, which is a very yogic concept even for the day and age. Before that, that their entire purpose of Kundalini awakening and yoga, which any form of yoga, whichever form you practice, the end goal is this realization of God, realization that you are one with the Supreme Creator, the Supreme Source, the Supreme Spirit that created and manifests everything, and that you are that I am principle in your truest, in your truest nature, and you're embodied in this experience that allows you to see, to perceive, to feel, so Jesus's message was very much radically accepting that, we're embodied, and that even people's sicknesses and diseases and so-called sins that the religious leaders of his day would bring to them, and oh, they're this sinner and this and that, and then he would rebuke them and show them who's talking, essentially. And then he would heal the person and be like, you don't even have any sin. There was no sin no more. There's, he's wiping that consciousness clean just with the power of his word, which is a manifestation of Kundalini. So let's talk about that. There was the Shaktipat tradition in India that, those beings that could awaken the Kundalini Shakti from the root to the crown chakra, and then ground and still choose to be embodied, rather than those that, completely renunciate and then just leave the body. A Shaktipat, or a true teacher, was someone that could transmit that divine revelation onto others as it is seen. And, like I said before, this is going to, piss off a lot of religious people. If you've even made it this far, you're probably like, oh, it's blasphemy. He can only he can do it. And then you read the Bible and Jesus says, don't be like the hypocrites and the religious Pharisees and Sadducees, be like me, be more like me, ye are gods, be like I am, do as I do. Don't just read the words, and I'm paraphrasing these verses, but you can read the Bible, just the regular King James Version. You don't got to read anything esoteric or anything, you just have to see it from a new perspective. And Third Eye Awakening, Kundalini Awakening will help you see this book from a new perspective as well. At least it has in my case. But he says, be doers of the word, not just readers or hearers of the word. And if anything I've gotten in my years as a, aspiring yoga teacher, as someone who also appreciates the wisdom and teachings of Christ, of Yeshua, and his message of God realization for all, that everyone, even the sinners, even the lowly, they deserve that grace and mercy, not just these religious, perfect, people that always did their things to the temples, and most of them were just, merchants in the temples anyways, and doing whatever they want because they lived by the law, what I mean, and the old law. That's why a new covenant had to be restored, essentially, which Christ brought to us, which is that freedom from sin. In his law, it's love God with all your heart, love the Lord your God with all your heart and might, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And he also says, love your enemies as yourself. Not just your friends, not just your neighbors, not just your colleagues or, those that cherish you and pamper you and whatever, your spouse, and love those people too. But love the people that hurt you, that ridicule you, that persecute you, bless them with your loving energy. That doesn't mean let them just, rip you to pieces, essentially, because you have to be able to understand that, you have to be able to stand up for yourself, essentially. And that's pretty, basic. So, but the religious will even use stuff like that and like, oh, just let, oh, well, if they did this to me, I shouldn't feel anything otherwise. And that's subservience. So it goes to show how religion can teach subservience, while Christ spoke of empowerment or sovereignty, like being one with God, being like he was. And he said, I go to my Father now. You can talk directly to God, the Father now. You don't have to, you don't have to just come to me. Speak with God, be empowered, be one with that union that I showed you, be one with the source that I showed you. And this is, at least in our opinion, just some biblical examples of how Christ consciousness is being conscious of Christ in us, of his spirit in us. That if we truly believe in that, and not just the belief system or the doctrine or the added man-made law to the original code beyond the matrix, you could even say, which was just love, like everything was created out of love. Therefore, what else is there to do and to be than to do our best to embody that? And like I said before, love isn't just easily pushed over or pushed aside. Love fights for what it feels and chooses to bring into existence. And that is the greatest example of love, that sacrifice, that he would give his life for us. That's surrendered to God's will, surrendered to the divine will, and then resurrecting, proving an even higher miracle that, you can't kill what's already been predetermined to rise and to be the glory for all to see, So all of these things, all of the miracles to the whole story, whether you believe in that or not, whether you side with the religious narrative, whether you're in the more spiritual perspective of like, yeah, Christ is that consciousness of unifying with God. And what he showed us was that we should be more like him. We should embody these teachings. We shouldn't just be, naysayers and hearers of the word and exclude anyone that's isn't Christian or isn't in this religious sect, and we see that in Hinduism and in whatever ism, these religions tend to say, oh, well, that can't be true because we didn't believe in that thousands of years before, and that's someone else's, or they're this color and they're this ethnicity and they're this language, so how could we be related when they're speaking of a universal truth? Universal truth is immutable. You can't mute the truth. It's going to come out. It's going to express itself. So like, just like we're here talking openly on this channel, opening our throat chakra, opening our heart chakra, opening our crown chakras for the divine revelation, that when these messages come to me, I was just on a walk and this message just came to me. It's like, I got to go make a video. I wanted to, do some other stuff, but here I am. I got to make this video. And that's understanding this consciousness is related and relatable for any walk of life, for anyone that walks this earth and can think for themselves rather than be bound by someone else's thought and doctrine and understandings, or even misunderstandings, as it's been interpreted so many times. Misinterpreted, things have been changed, rearranged, added, and taken from it. So anyone that says the things like don't take from the word and this and that is like, well, we're already reading a taken from word that's been translated and changed, and if you read this translation versus the older translation, or the standard or the new standard and the English standard, and it's like standardized after standardization of the same thing, just like yoga in the West. Now you say yoga and people are like, oh, yoga pants and goat yoga and puppy dog yoga or beer yoga. It's like, yeah, come have a beer while we do yoga. Come have some goats stand on your back while you're in child's pose. Just nonsense. Like, and people pay for that. People pay for this stuff. So when I say, hey, go to my Patreon and join the yoga community where we do bi-weekly meditation circles, and I can also give you weekly one-on-one guidance for a true, authentic yoga practices that comes without the dogma, without the religion, and can meet you at wherever you're coming from, whatever your beliefs are. And I will help, God willing, Goddess willing, for that Kundalini awakening to take place through my own experience and through your willingness to practice with us. So go check out the Patreon if you really want that guidance and you need that. I've gone to yoga classes, even just normal ones, and oftentimes it's like, well, this was a very skewed version, or the teacher's just like bashing me because I can't do his handstand and perfect splits, and I've had I had a back kyphosis in my back since I was younger, so I'll never look the part of what a perfect Western anatomical yogi is supposed to look like. And I'm learning to embrace that, like, hey, well, that isn't what Kundalini awakening is about. Anyways, you can do all the yoga poses you want and never experience Kundalini awakening. I don't care what anyone says, So, go ahead and do your handstands and think you're better than everyone. We aren't here for that. We're here for cooperation, unity, unification, and understanding of divine principles and how they embody in us, as well as how we can use those to better connect with each other and other cultures and races and different ways of life and living. So check out the links in my description, if you want to learn direct yoga without any of the nonsense, without all the jargon, without all the mumbo jumbo and the, and ridiculous laughs. Like, we can laugh, we can have a good time naturally without needing any of that stuff. I'm happy to be that open source and that open channel for you. So anyways, getting back to the message. In the West, now there's this skewed version of yoga. It's just poses and postures. You're supposed to look this way, or only a girl can do that with her tight yoga leggings and beautiful, you know what, and that's the image of it, is that it's like, even that is like sexualized and imagizing a form of movement, of energy work, asana. What it was meant to be is to get prana and shakti, kundalini, flowing through your body, if that intention is there in the first place. So I'm going to bring together now the Christ consciousness into the Kundalini awakening and a little bit of yoga just to round off this message. I don't want to go too off into left or right field and keep this a pretty straightforward message. But just showing how yoga isn't about what it was intended for in the first place anymore. Now it's about, follow this cult and this religion and these ways of doing it, or you know what I mean? And there's so much division in that and so much misinformation. I feel like it leaves people left to their own devices. Often it has me, certainly, when I've seeked outwardly rather than that inward knowing and that gnosis, rather, of, as it's called esoterically, of having that union with God and the Divine Mother and experiencing her in nature, experience her within my own body, within my own energetic system, my spine. Because your spine is what some even say the tree of life. All of these symbols, these esoteric symbols, the seven lampstands and the seven churches and And the 7 seals of revelation, just like these 7 chakras, and there's more than 7 chakras, but these are the base 7 energy centers within the body. And when we connect to them from that esoteric level, we can understand, okay, this is Christ consciousness. This is happening inside me. This isn't just some event that already happened or it's going to happen. That's how prophecy works, is that it's fluid. And to understand that the book is showing you an experience or someone else's experiences that they've gone through, so that you can put your mind through the same experiences if you choose to read it this way, rather than from the religious, oh, that's only God and that's only him and only Jesus is doing that, and he's telling you, go lay your hands on people and heal like I did. Go, Reiki healing. Just a different word from a different time. Laying of hands, healing people, the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, chanting mantras, what they call light language nowadays, for all my, fellow yogis and yoginis out there, and sacred chanters of sound. Essentially, that light language you're doing, that's a gift of the Holy Spirit. That's what they would call speaking in tongues, is that you're speaking in languages that aren't even understood at times by the mind, because they were these ancient frequencies, and you're able to tap into that. You're able to access a state of consciousness that the average person can't. And that's due to your connection, one, with Christ consciousness and that union with God, but also due to the Kundalini awakening. It's a natural byproduct. Some even go as far as to say, the relationship between the Holy Spirit and the Mother and the Shakti. It's like they have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because they wanted to take out the feminine aspect. But the Mother is in that unity, in that Trinity. If you want to look at how was a child created, how was the Son created? Through the womb of the Mother, of Mother Mary. And she was that Holy Spirit. And then, the religions will say she was just a vessel. She didn't have any importance. She shouldn't. And I'm not trying to say any religion is right or wrong, or the way they're doing this practice or that practice is right or wrong. But understand that the woman, the feminine essence, the womb, the mother, is that life-giving spirit. From her we all came, the earth, essentially, being that primordial womb. And that life comes out of the mother. The waters, the blood, the nutrients, everything we consume comes from her. And so the Holy Spirit in their tradition is looking at this non-physical energy, or Shakti, where we see the relationship between the 2 energies, or the one energy really, that was made 2, so that we could greater understand the whole, the totality, the unity in Gnosis. This is the pleroma, that place beyond just these emanations or these celestial principles and governing principles and laws and ordinances and all that stuff, where that's what keeps the cosmos functioning. There was an original unified source at the crown, the Godhead, or the pleroma in the Gnostic tradition. And understanding Gnosis is like, wow, we come from the source of everything, and then Father and Mother and Son and shape and sound and structure and being and presence, all the way down to the life essence and the earth herself and all else, coming from that. But understanding in that tree of life in the Kabbalic tradition that it is literally a representation of that unity coming into multiplicity, and then finding where we're at, and then reaching back to that unity. Even look at, the 2 trees, like on the left and the right side, like the Ida and the Pingala, the Kundalini. The Ida is the left channel, which is actually the lunar channel, because the left side of the body is connected to the right side of the brain, and the Pingala, or the right side, is the left brain, or dealing with the masculine or solar principle. So Ida, feminine, lunar principle; Pingala, masculine, solar principle. And the body is also, the right side of the body is masculine side, the left side of the body is the feminine side. So we're understanding from this unity now of why everything is split in duality today. Why has everything been made binary, or, some form of the other, which is religious or atheists. There is no in between. When mysticism, Tantra, Gnosis, all of these, yoga, even Tantra, all these things show us that unity rather than this division which has been given to us. So even in the tradition of non-duality, you have to understand Shakti and Shiva. Shiva is like that crown of Christ consciousness, of a being that has raised his energy to the level of knowing God and seeing from within that connection rather than an external truth. It is now an internal and embodied truth. That is also Shiva consciousness, and that shows us how Shakti at the root, our primal energy, must be transformed into something new if we want to experience that consciousness. So I hope this video, I don't want to make it too much longer, I hope this video could help people understand maybe some misunderstanding of Christ consciousness, especially from the biblical side of things, and understanding how you can read even the Bible and get these messages. I've gotten a lot of messages, these deep insights and profound esoteric wisdom just from reading the Bible from that perspective. And then I've also read it from the religious perspective of like, well, what if I put myself in the shoes even after awakening? I put myself back in the shoes of like, well, what would it be like if I just did it their way and just followed all these things and everything? It was very interesting to see, like now my consciousness is battling my energy, literally like my polarities were battling each other. And rather than that unity of life, I was experiencing, what they call good and evil. And so understand that there is a unity consciousness through Christ consciousness. You can find it in the Bible if you read it that way, but we aren't here to push that agenda on anyone, or any agendas for that matter. The Kundalini awakening that you experience will help you in all areas of your life, will help you see these deeper truths, and understanding the relationship that Christ consciousness is in all of us. We all have the consciousness of God and Christ inside of us. We have to just awaken it. We have to choose a path that resonates with those higher vibrations, you could say. And higher vibrations, again, are accepting of all of the lower, what you could say, how even sinful again, people would come to him and he's like, there is no sin, you're healed. And then they were healed, they were perfect. Like, wow, I just needed someone to tell me. Like, I didn't know I could just be healed. I thought there was something wrong with me. That's what good and evil, the law, the religious law tends to put people's minds into. And if you don't follow this perfectly, then how could you ever be accepted or loved by God? When that isn't in my perspective and experience, the love of God I've experienced through Christ, through worship, through bhakti, through yoga, through Kundalini awakening, through just walking out in nature and singing with the birds and listening to the wind and the waters and the very simple, the fire, the basic elements of life. God's in all of that, and we are simultaneously experiencing this reality as God embodied. And the more we can do that, I feel, and many others I hope feel, the world would just be such a better place. We wouldn't have all these arguments and problems and dysfunctions and misinterpretations, misunderstandings of each other. We'd be able to make a better world. We'd actually be able to make the changes we want to see and be the changes that we want to see, and not just think we're doing that, but then we're belittling other people because they don't believe. And I've been there too. I've had my faults and my days of not understanding the interconnectedness and wanting to reach out to people that I felt did, but they didn't resonate with what I was saying or whatever it was. You know what I mean? And you have to go through those trials. You have to go through all of these experiences. Once again, all of the lower experiences will show you that higher truth is found in all of our experiences, all of our human experiences, all of our spiritual awakenings. And life just becomes a much smoother ride once you get there. So once again, subscribe to the channel if you found this information helpful. I'd love to see you over on Patreon for the meditation groups and private yoga sessions that you can book with us for monthly and weekly sessions. And I'll also look forward to seeing you in another video. All of the links are in the description that you need, and I look forward to being of service again soon. Namaste.